Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. Joining us is a very special guest, Donald Trump, CEO of the Trump Organization and host and executive producer of the NBC reality show, The Apprentice. Welcome to Newsmax TV, Mr. Trump.
Well, thank you very much.
So great to have you here. Well, you've said you are considering a run for president. There is even a website that's attempting to recruit you. It's called shouldtrumprun.com. Are you planning to run for president in 2012?
Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at what's happening with this country. And frankly, it's very sad. I see what's happening left and right, how we're being abused by other nations. And I don't like it. I don't like what's happening with jobs. I am seriously thinking about it.
Now, you have said that if you choose to run, that you would run as a Republican. But a number of people are saying that conditions are ripe right now for an independent candidate or perhaps a third-party candidate. Would you consider running as an independent or perhaps even a Tea Party candidate?
Well, I respect the Tea Party, but I am a Republican, so I'd be running as a Republican.
What is it about the Republican Party that...
I've been a Republican for a long time. I just really respect what they stand for. I like that they're fighting certain battles, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be running as a Republican.
A big story today unfolding in the Middle East is the unrest and protests in Egypt. Are you satisfied with the Obama administration's response thus far?
Well, I don't think there has been a response, frankly. I mean, I look at what's going on in the Middle East. It's an explosion, and I don't think, has there been a response? I don't think so.
Well, CNBC's Erin Burnett, who is a friend of yours, and she has appeared on The Apprentice.
And a good reporter.
I've seen her on The Apprentice. She came out on Morning Joe this morning saying that the fallout from this could cause oil prices to go stratospheric, in her words. And investor Jim Rogers is predicting that oil could hit $200 a barrel. You think that's possible?
It also could go the other way. I mean, frankly, the Middle East is a tinderbox. It's going to explode. OPEC will probably be destroyed if it explodes, and oil prices could go the other way. You know, I'm a student at the Wharton School of Finance. I did very well. I understand economics. And you'll break up this, really what would normally be an illegal monopoly of OPEC, and break it up very strongly. So when I look at the Middle East, it's a tinderbox. It's exploding. And I'm saying that could have a positive impact on oil prices as opposed to, you know, I mean, if you look at oil right now, it's going to be soon $100 a barrel. Far too high. It's set by OPEC. I think OPEC would explode with the Middle East, and that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
You've been very critical in the past of OPEC. What are your concerns?
Well, I think it's unfair. I think it should be illegal. You know, if you have a store and I have a store and we collude and set prices, we go to jail. Here you have 12 men, in this case, all men. They sit around a table, they go out, and they set the price of oil. We have so much oil. There's so much oil out at sea. Ships are loaded up with oil. They don't know where to dump it. And the prices are going. I just passed coming over to the studio, which is a beautiful studio, by the way.
Thank you.
But coming over to the studio, I see $3.50 for a gallon of oil, a gallon of gas for the cars. I mean, cars are lined up trying to get it, and it's $3.50. It's a shame. It's a ridiculous shame. I have a friend who's a very smart guy. He said when oil goes above $40 to $50 a barrel, if it goes above $40 to $50, this country is in serious, serious trouble. Plus, we don't use our natural gas. We have more natural gas than anybody. Why we're not using it is like an amazing thing. Abu Dhabi, very interestingly, Abu Dhabi, which has plenty of oil, they just went to all natural gas for transportation. You know why? Because they want to sell us the oil at exorbitant prices. So when you tell me about Obama and what he's doing in the Middle East, I don't think he's doing anything in the Middle East.
All right. Well, to China, you have criticized the president also for how he has dealt with China, which devalues its currency and pursues policies that hurt U.S. workers. What should the U.S. be doing with China and other states to address our trade imbalances?
Well, I'm a big buyer of products, and I'm also, unfortunately, a big buyer of Chinese products. And it's very hard to buy, if you're buying glass and various other things, it's very hard not to buy Chinese products, including sheetrock, which has destroyed many a development and many a life. And I will say this before I go any further. We make better products than China. Our products are better. The problem is they manipulate their currency so badly that it's almost impossible for a person like me to buy outside. You go out, I want to buy an American product. The Chinese products come in, they're cheaper. They're not as good, they're cheaper. And it's not because of workers or anything else. It's because of a manipulation of the currency. The other thing, if you try and do business in China, it's almost impossible. It's very, very hard to do business. Look what happened with General Electric recently. They want all the technology. They want you to build your plants in China. We have a very weak policy, whether it's China, by the way, or the horrible agreement just signed with South Korea, or so many other horrible deals that we make. We don't have the ability to make good deals with other countries. We're like a whipping post for other countries. We are standing there and just being beaten by South Korea, by Mexico, by China, by India. If you have a problem with your credit card, you call somebody up. That person is based in India. And then they wonder why we're not going to have jobs for another 5 or 6 years. You know, Ben Bernanke just said recently, it's going to be at least 5 years before our jobs really come back. And I say, why? All our jobs are going to China. We're rebuilding China and other places. So unless we get tough and unless we get smart and unless we stop having dinners for people that are destroying us, like when the president of China came 2 weeks ago to this country and we gave him a great state dinner, we're going to have big problems, very big problems.
You talk about getting tough and getting smart. Specifically, what should we be doing?
Well, there are many things. I mean, number one, we have to do something about OPEC because that's the lifeblood of a country. Right now, until we get on natural gas and other things, they really have us. And they're sitting around and inflating the price. And, you know, when we had our problem not so long ago, a few years ago, have you noticed, oil was almost $150 a barrel. Now, they're blaming the banks, and the banks were terrible. They were terrible. And lots of other things were terrible. But I give a lot of the credit for the almost collapse of this country to the price of oil. It's going to be up there very soon again. And you're going to have another catastrophic problem. It's the lifeblood of this country. And we have these 12 people sitting around. And by the way, anytime a country comes up with oil, they invite them in. Join OPEC, join OPEC. You know, the United States is stupid. The people that are representing the United States are really stupid. So join us and we'll, excuse me, take advantage of the United States. We'll sell them oil at totally inflated prices. And they're draining our lifeblood. We cannot allow that to continue. Now, people say, well, what power do we have in OPEC? They wouldn't even exist if it weren't for us.
You talk about oil getting up there again. Where do you see it going?
Well, I think it could go with proper leadership down to $40 a barrel. I think if we continue the way it is, it's going to go up to $150 a barrel.
Okay.
Nobody talks to OPEC. Mm-hmm. Nobody says, hey, fellas, guess what? Times have changed. You're going to toe the line or you're going to have big problems. Nobody says that. They don't even call them. So these people have a free rein. We're a target. And they have a free rein on the United States. And it's going to really destroy this country.
Let's talk about President Obama and the business community, because in recent weeks he's made an appearance to have a concerted effort to appear pro-business to try to spur hiring. Are big business and small business owners buying it?
Well, look, it's words. When I looked at his State of the Union speech, I watched it very carefully. In fact, I commented on Fox right after the speech with Neil Cavuto, who's a great guy. And we had a long talk, and he said, what do you think? I said, it's just rhetoric. It's words. It's all words. Sputnik and this and that. And it was long. He ought to spend more time in his office on the telephone talking to the folks at OPEC saying, you better get those oil prices down or you're going to be paying a big price. And they can do it. And by the way, with China, if we ever taxed Chinese products coming into this country, we would pay off their debt so fast, but would do something much more importantly. We would start creating jobs in our country because we'd equalize the imbalance that they've done by manipulating their currency. And the same way they cheated in the Olympics with their Olympic gymnasts and other things, they're cheating us with the manipulation of the currency. They are not our friends. I know them very well. I do business with them. I sold an apartment just a little while ago for $33 million to a Chinese gentleman. And I have a lot of friends in China, and I don't even blame them. I'm not angry at them. I just can't believe they can get away with it. And my friends from China said to me just recently, now they didn't know that I may be thinking about running for president, but they said just recently, we cannot believe how stupid your politicians are to allow us to get away with what we're getting away. Now, they thought they were talking to me as a business guy, and they're all laughing and smiling. We are a laughingstock throughout the world.
Billionaire investor George Soros says that the modest U.S. economic recovery is temporary. Do you believe that the worst is behind us?
If by the question you mean he thinks it's going to get worse, I would say that he possibly is right. If oil prices are allowed to inflate and keep inflating, if the dollar keeps going down in value, which is not good because you're going to pay $25 for a loaf of bread pretty soon. If you look at what's happening with our food prices, they're going through the roof. I mean, we could end up being another Egypt. You know, you could have riots in our streets also. So if he thinks things are going to get worse by the way he phrased that, or by the way you phrased it, I think there's a very distinct possibility that things will get worse, yes.
All right. Are you predicting inflation at this point? Is inflation a real threat in your view?
I think the biggest threat is the fact that our jobs are being stolen by other countries. I don't think inflation's a bigger threat. I think that the fact is we're not going to have any jobs here pretty soon. You know, somebody that I know very well is buying an airplane, and the airplane's being made in Brazil. Think of it, Brazil. And the reason they're buying it is because they're getting a big tax credit. Now, the plane's going to cost $3 million. He's getting a $1.2 million tax credit in the United States. So he's buying a plane in Brazil, made in Brazil with Brazilian workers, because he's getting a tax credit in the United States. That's just one of hundreds of things. Is it insane?
You've been a patriotic American for some time. I know that you wave the U.S. flag so proudly in front of your home here in South Florida.
And many other places, including over the Pacific Ocean, where I have a tremendous club, and over the Potomac River, where I have lots of tremendous assets, and I wave the flag whenever I can.
What is it about this country that's so special to you? And why do you care so much?
Because,
why run?
Because I love the country, and I've done well in the country. My business has never been better because I've made some good decisions. It shouldn't be good. It should be terrible because a lot of other businesses are terrible, but I've made some very good and very talented decisions. I love the country. I hate what's happening to the country. In 12 years, China will take over as the world's great leading economic power, if not sooner. And the way we're going, this country will not be a great country as it was anymore. And that's very, very sad to me. So many bad things are happening. Recently I read, and this is a little thing, but it's really just emblematic of what's going on. $52 million of cash, a suitcase, was given by somebody, nobody knows who, I guess a colonel or a general, I want to know who these people are, was given to Afghanistan to be paid off to various places in Afghanistan. Now this is cash, this isn't we're writing a check. The money turned out to go to Dubai, which is Middle Eastern but having lots of problems. Dubai's having a lot of problems. So the 52 million in cash, which might have been 100 million before everybody was stealing it, ends up in Dubai, but it was meant for Afghanistan. And I'm trying to figure, who is the colonel or the person, maybe it's a general, that signs to okay 52 million in a suitcase to be brought over? I want to get to know this guy because I could have a lot of fun with him. And I want to know, how rich is that colonel? You know, I have things where they're cash businesses, and I hire accountants to watch that people don't steal. And then I hire other accountants to watch them, that my accountants don't get paid off by the people that are stealing. And with all of that, they still try and steal. Now, who's the man that approves $52 million in cash in a suitcase? You tell me. There's so much money, there's so much waste going on in this country, and it's destroying the country.
Just how serious are you about considering whether to run or not? Where are you in the thinking process right now?
Well, I think you can see that I'm very serious. Number one, I wouldn't be here. Somebody said, oh, I'm promoting The Apprentice. That's a lot of nonsense. I don't need to promote. The Apprentice is in its 11th season. It's done phenomenally. It was actually, during many evenings, the #1 show on television. It's been a great, great success. I don't need to promote The Apprentice. I don't need to come here to wonderful West Palm Beach, Florida, to do this interview unless I am seriously considering. And I can tell you, I don't want to do it. I'm loving my business. I'm having a lot of fun. I hate what's happening to this country. I hate seeing this country ripped off by every other smart nation. I say smart nation. China, India, Mexico. You look at what's going on, the jobs that are pouring into Mexico. And we give them incentive to move people out of Iowa. Newton, Iowa got destroyed by Mexico. They took the plant, they had incentives from this government, and they built the plant in Mexico. And it wiped out a town called Newton, Iowa. So it's very sad. And it's not hard. It's not that hard. It's common sense. It's business. It's common sense.
So if you announce, when would you announce?
I would probably announce sometime during the month of June.
Why June?
You're not allowed, this is the laws of this nation, you're not allowed to announce if you're doing a television show. And my show is 2 hours on Sunday night for 16 weeks. So I'd probably announce during the month of June. Now, the problem is if I announced, then everybody else running would have to be given 2 hours of primetime network television. So I think it's ridiculous, but you're not allowed to announce if you have a television show that's currently running.
All right, Mr. Trump, thanks so much for being here. We'll have more with Donald Trump in part 2 of this interview. He'll explain to us where he thinks housing, oil, and gold are all going. Plus, he'll share with us his thoughts on Iran and Afghanistan. Thank you for watching Newsmax TV.